All right. Hey, welcome back to the GO4CEO. This is a welcome back interview too, ladies and gentlemen. This gentleman I met at COD. This is a local college one day. We're speaking at the same event with this gentleman named Dr. Peter James. And gosh, it was intriguing because he had such life and strength and energy. I could see this kid was going to be a success. And I say kid because he's about 15 years my younger, but hopefully, I'm still looking good to call him that. But he's a great guy. You are going to be blessed by this interview. The energy and the understanding of what he does with Lunar Branding has been spectacular. You've probably seen him all over the internet, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. So, Greg, man, thanks so much for coming on. I know you're in sunny Cali now over the last few years, living in California, man. How's everything going with Lunar Branding and Greg?
It's going really well, John. I'm happy to be back. I see you killing social media, and it was an honor being your first podcast, and to meet you, and you got that same drive and energy for life. So it's nice to meet another like-minded individual, and I think that's why we got along right out the gate. And we've been connected for all these years. I've been out in LA now for 4.5 years almost, and I love it. The weather's nice. I got a big community out here of Armenians and veterans, and building my business with the local roots, if you will, because I've lived in 8 states and 11 cities, and building a business across picking up and moving is a lot more difficult now that I've been established in one spot. I think one of the bigger benefits is I can really enter into the chambers of commerces across different cities in Burbank and Hollywood Chamber of Commerce I'm a part of. And, just kind of build my roots with my company and my personal brand. So that's definitely a big benefit of staying put in one spot.
Yeah, building roots. I mean, it's something that a lot of us, don't understand, right? The complexity of it, right? And how you start to establish a name, the roots. People can count on you, locally. But obviously, you've been in 8 cities, you said, and I think you were born like in the Boston, Massachusetts area, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So great, powerful area, right? New England and all that area, and then came out to Chi-Town. So you've kind of made all the stops of the big cities and built some great relationships. And I know that you're the type of guy that, we'll exchange a text here and there every so often and just check in with each other. So we're excited to have you back on the Go for CO, channel. Tell us a little bit about Lunar Branding. I know when we first had you on, you were kind of just getting started. You were sharing a little bit about how you could take these products and really brand them to who you are and what your company's all about. What are some of the newest updates over the last few years that you've been able to bring Lunar Branding to the next level?
Yeah. So when it comes to what we do, we specialize in promotional products and customized merchandise. And so we are not just a cookie cutter website. Some of our competitors can be considered staples. They have a little bit of a promotional area, or 4imprint, Vistaprint. They're very common. They're great at what they do. They're very large companies. And they're more of the user is the one having to, input all the information. And if that user doesn't understand what they're getting or understand the promotional space, then they either may not get what they're expecting, or they may feel like their marketing dollars weren't really used effectively. Versus when you come work with boutique companies like mine, and there's 25,000 other companies like mine in the US, where we take more of a consultative approach, and you can appreciate being a consultant, right, in the business and line of work that you do, where it's not someone just filling out an application online, but you get to have a conversation with them and build that long-term partnership and relationship. So when it comes to swag, and the reason companies come work with me is because, they want to leverage swag in the way that it's meant to be. And it's not meant to just slap your logo on a pen and give it out where at a trade show like it's Halloween candy where people are trick-or-treating from booth to booth, What it's meant to is leave a lasting impression. And that's one of the trademark phrases that I have is what kind of impression are you leaving? It's a question because it makes people think of what kind of impression are you leaving as an individual? What kind of impression are you leaving as a brand? What kind of physical impression are you leaving? And one analogy and metaphor I like to give is, are you wanting to be the footprint in the sand that gets washed away by the beach in the waves? Or do you want to be the footprint on the moon that, 5 decades later is still known, still up there, and people know exactly whose footprint that is, his entire background, right? That's leaving a lasting impression. And lastly, in the advertising space, right? What kind of impression you're leaving. An impression is every time eyes are laid on your logo, graphic, or ad is considered an impression. So it's a quadruple entendre. And so companies like Warner Brothers, Service Titan, Payably, Coca-Cola, Marriott, they come work with my company because I really try to think for them. I'm, at no added cost for a consult, like a consultant fee. I'm in their team. I'm either an extension of their marketing team if they don't have one, or, I become their marketing team if I'm sorry, I become an extension of the marketing team if they have one. And if they don't have one, I essentially become their marketing team because, you know, a lot of times when people are ordering swag, it's not their main job. It is an added thing. Oh, the boss says, "Hey, we have an event coming up, order some stuff." They end up on Google and it's something that doesn't last. Versus when you come with me, I'm talking about what's your budget, what's your target audience, what's your brand stand for, what's it behind, what's the theme? Are you an architectural firm? Are you in the health and wellness space, right? What is the purpose of the swag? Are you giving it out? Are you putting it in retail stores? Is it e-commerce driven? Is it a gift with purchase? Are you outfitting your employees? Are you client gifting? Right? So there's not going to even be a cookie cutter solution for each item for each use case within each company. And then you have HR departments doing employee onboarding. You have sales departments doing leave behinds. There's so many use cases behind swag. And when you do it effectively, people love it. It's fun. And, I love what I do. So I'm very passionate about it.
It's so interesting. I equated my wife has done 20, 30 birthdays, right? And I think about that giveaway, for the little kids, the little
Goodie
bag
bag.
that they get, right? And most parties that you go to, you just get, you're like, it's crap, candy, whatever. But my wife puts a lot of effort into it. I never thought about it, but the way you just described it is so clear that you want to be intentional. You want to be able to, if you have a nice pullover, is there what does it look like? Is it clean and crisp? Is it good material? Or is it super thin and I'm never going to wear it again? Yeah, thanks for giving me this piece of crap, right? Unfortunately, it'll be a landfill or something like that. So really, really cool. So, and I know you've been always innovative. You've looked at the way that you've done your branding and the products and things that, and when we've had conversations and people I've referred, you're always thinking about what's the intention. So can you give us a little bit of a background for those of you that are just meeting you again for the first time? You know, Lunar Branding. I mean, how did you think of it? Obviously, your
Sure.
military background. What's the share of that?
Yeah, so when I was leaving the military, if you can't tell from my I Love Me wall behind me, I'm a proud vet, went to West Point, served overseas with the 101st Airborne Division, come from a big military family. It's all I ever wanted to do. Fortunately, incurred an injury and got out earlier than expected. And so my retirement weekend from the Army was kind of the weekend I pitched this idea. And this is October of 2017, but I got to backtrack and give you some context. So I'm in Mexico. I'm sorry, it's October 2016. And so I'm in Mexico of June of 2016, and I'm part of this travel club. And I'm doing all these crazy excursions. I'm doing jet skiing. I'm doing horseback riding. I'm doing parasailing, right? I'm jumping in cenotes. And I'm like having this pull apart banner that says, "You should be here because you're using that to promote the club." And I
Mhm.
jumped in the cenote and I literally have a picture of when I hit the water. I have a picture of this exact moment. Like, I think this is so rare for anyone to have a picture of the moment of the spark of inspiration, right? And I have this picture. I feel so blessed to have unintentionally documented my entire journey, which is going in my book, right? And so I jump in the cenote, and the two plastic handles come apart, and the sign retracts to itself. And now I'm gonna have to tread water and collect these three pieces. Sign wasn't broken; it just came apart. But I think to myself, you know, how can I achieve the same picture, jump in the water, and then just have it like let it go, and maybe have it retract to my hip? And so that was the spark of the idea. After my trip to Mexico, I come home and I go to Walmart and I buy a retractable key badge. And I attach it to my hip, and then I clip it to the sign, and then I jump in my pool and I test it out. Does it retract underwater? Right? Does it actually do what I thought it was going to do? Does it obviously it retracts in the air, outside of the water? And I was like, wow, I felt like a genius. I was like, this is phenomenal. And then I said to myself, what if this club that I'm part of, this travel club, puts their logo on it and sells it? They got a couple 100,000 members. Buy it for a buck, sell it for two, make a couple $100,000 profit, right? People can use it when they're snowboarding. You don't want to fumble with your gloves and this, right? In a winter sport, you could attach to your bag and just take the picture, boom, let it go back, go about your day. You can do it in the desert if you're, on ATVs. You can do it in the ocean. So there's so many use cases behind it. We're a travel club, it's adventure, it's an easy promotional thing. And if these people want to promote the club when they go back to their jobs as, maybe a nurse or someone who has the need for a retractable key badge, it's got the logo on it and it becomes a talking piece. So that was my idea. And I start to show it to all the people in the club, like the top income earners, and they all laugh me out of the room. They go, "It's stupid. No one's gonna buy it. It's, you need a patent." And I'm like, "No, I don't." I said, "You got to put your logo on it." Not knowing what this industry was. So months go by, October 2016, I'm leaving the military. It's my retirement weekend. And we have an event in Vegas. And I go to Vegas and I see the president of this club at baggage claim. And so I walk up to him at baggage claim, take a picture with him, have the picture, unintentionally documenting my journey, right? And then I took a video, I prepped a video actually of this, and I waited months for an opportunity. I took a 2-minute video of me explaining what this whole thing was. And I fast forward to like the only 10 seconds he needs to see of it retracting back to my hip. He's like, "That's a cool idea. Take my phone number, text me this picture and conversation. I'm going to introduce you to the CEO." Later that weekend, introduced me to the CEO. CEO ends up being a Marine Corps veteran, so we had that military camaraderie. He says, "I love your idea. I'm going to introduce you to the marketing guy." Marketing guy ended up having a phone call in November, talked handshake deal. I flew down there in October. I'm sorry, I flew down there in April and May, or sorry, March and April of 2017, did a handshake deal. And then I launched my company in May of 2017, and they were one of my first clients. And that was the first thing they bought. And that following October, exactly a year later after I pitched it, my product was being sold in their gift shop and it sold out. So I went and bought one and went and gave whoever told me no, I gifted them that. I said, "Here you go." So that's kind of the long-winded story of the spark of an idea, not taking no for an answer, prepping for an opportunity, capitalizing on the opportunity, and 8.5 years later, it's something I can live off of and hire my friends and build a team behind.
No, that's awesome, man. The relentless pursuit of something that was in your mind, right? You made an idea become to life, right? And then you pursued it, right? There's these little happenstances, Go for CEO community. You know, Greg does something where he gets caught, happenstance, right? He gets breaks the water, and then he feels this way, like about something that could have been better. He researches it, does it, figures out some things, pitches it, gets rejected. But then in an airport, run into the same individual that could have some influence to launch this thing within the same group, and then you just stayed relentless and went on it. And super exciting stuff. So obviously, in our first interview we talked about how you started to develop the plan and what you were doing to really start the business. And these second interviews, we love hearing about the progress, right? Over the last 3 or 4 years, obviously the pandemic hit. You had just moved out to California, set roots, and kind of related to, hey, needing to move from city to city, but now having roots. What are some of the things that you've been able to do now with Lunar to advocate for Lunar branding, and then also maybe the synergies within other companies that you're doing business with?
Yeah, so building roots allows me to like join chambers of commerces. So I joined the Burbank Chamber of Commerce and I've joined now the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. Those have been huge, right? Through the Burbank Chamber of Commerce, I picked up accounts like Warner Brothers. I picked up accounts like Marriott, right? And from one Marriott, you get multiple locations because of how they're structured, and or if their reps pick up and leave and go to a new location, you had a good relationship. Now you've just duplicated yourself across accounts. And because they know your quality of work, they trust you, so on and so forth. And so building those roots are huge. Recently, I'm partnering with my local high school. They don't have a comprehensive merch plan. They don't even have brand guidelines. I mean, when you look at all of the individual coaches for each sport, they buy a different shade of blue. They use a different bulldog. They have a different font. And I'm looking at it and I said, here, what an opportunity for me to come in, support the local community. Say, hey, look, let me come over, revamp your whole swag, your whole merch. Kids love it, but it's not consistent. So when someone's wearing it out, they go, "Which Burbank Bulldog are you? Is this a different high school? Because it looks different."
Mhm.
So I propose to them, "Hey, let me come together, build a brand guideline for you, so it's consistent. You funnel all the business from all the sports teams and everyone to Lunar Branding, and I'll give kickbacks and scholarships. I'll give kickbacks and speaking engagements. I'll give opportunities and internships, right? And I'm supporting the local community. You're supporting a local veteran-owned business. It's a win-win, right? Because now you're going to minimize or eliminate upfront costs for swag because I'm essentially subsidizing it. I'm putting the money up for it. I'm handling and hosting the inventory. I'm the one selling it or empowering the students to sell it. And then I'm able to give a kickback to the school. So it's a really good opportunity. And that's another one that I'm trying to promote. Excuse me, we have our own water, Lunar Liquid, right? So I've launched this. These are in aluminum bottles, got a cheeky little message about how we're saving the planet one bottle at a time. But the whole point is to showcase how, you know, companies can decorate an entire aluminum bottle, have their own brand of water realistically. And at the essentially when you're buying at volume, you're buying at the same cost as you would buy any high-end bottle of water like Voss or Fiji or anything like this, but it's completely branded to you. So it's showcasing how you can, whether it's consumables or permanent merchandise, whatever it may be, you can leverage it if you're already buying it for your companies and people love it, right? Because that's how you truly build the brand. Like, why go buy Fiji for your office? No knock to Fiji, it's great water, but why go buy that for your office when you can have your own brand of water for your hundreds of employees, right? And it just solidifies like, oh, wow, the company, there's so many things behind it psychological. Oh, the company's investing back into itself. True, but they're also spending the same. Like, there's zero difference in the marketing budget. You're spending the same amount of money. You're just getting more impact, right? And so I showcase it through myself. I obviously use my own company as a test bed for different merchandise, and then I go out there and I showcase it to companies, and they love it. They love the quality behind it because it's not cheapo swag. It's not cheapo tchotchkes. It is high quality impactful merchandise that, I'll say it again, leaves a lasting impression. And when people see that, they go, I want that for my brand. I want that for my company. Because now when they have a piece of swag like that and they hand it out, they're proud because that's representative of their company or organization.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. I love that the Bears wear their own swag, right? They represent, the coach wears it on the sideline. And if it looks good, feels good, other people want to wear it. And companies, I'll tell you, Go for CEO community, what Greg just shared there is start within, right? If you have a one-person show, or if you have a 15-person show, or a 35-person employees, right? What about supplying the water with your own brand instead of that H bottle, what I'm talking about, or the F, like you said, the Fiji and all that stuff. Like, you don't realize how impactful that could be just within your own community and organization, how to brand those things so that there's awareness, there's that logo out there, and it's sitting, that bottle of water could be sitting at a local restaurant. That person's like, oh wow, look at that, that's really cool, right? And they're inquisitive, and maybe you get a piece of business from that, but it's all about branding. I love it. I love it. Any more on that side of things, of just the
Yeah, I
mindset of
mean,
it?
the whole point is to start conversations. You want to wear, if I were to give a piece of advice for anyone ordering swag, don't just take your logo and your company name and put it on a t-shirt because that becomes most likely an unwearable item. Maybe you're lucky if they wear it to the gym to get exposure outside. Maybe you're lucky if they wear it at a painter's shirt or as a pajama shirt, but then you're not getting really much exposure. So that piece of swag wasn't very useful.
Yep.
However, if you have merchandise that, like, my company is, the name is Lunar Branding, but Lunar Branding isn't really prominent on this hat. It is just on the side here, right?
Hmm.
And we call it liquid metal, and it's on the inside tape. But we have constellation, we have a shoot for the moon sandwich, we have a US flag, we have cutout stars, we have laser engraved on the back. What kind of impression are you leaving? So, when I gift these hats out to people, they go, wow, this is a cool hat. I'm going to wear it. But if I just had a hat that said Lunar Branding embroidered on it, the likelihood of them wearing it is very slim. This is cool.
Yeah.
It's moving. Another one I'm going to stand up and show you is this shirt. It says, I've been to the moon, right? Kind of cheesy, kind of cheeky. something you proverbially, or like I would say metaphorically, you would have picked up at a gift shop on the moon, right? I've been to the moon. So, and lunar branding is only just a little hem tag down here. It says shoot for the moon down here. So very subtle, but this is a conversation starter. Someone I've worn this in the airport. Some guy approached me, he goes, "What do you mean you've been to the moon?" Starts a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Or they point and laugh at it. They think it's cool. They think it's fun. So when you make your brand fun and unique, and that piece of advice I'm giving to companies is think of something that is related to your company, your brand, your theme, like how I've done it, and use that as the graphics, as the imagery to have a conversation starter when you're giving out any type of merchandise, any type of swag, or even using it for social media and digital marketing, right? That becomes more powerful. A lot of people just full stop at, I got a logo, and they just slap that everywhere. They don't take
Yeah.
it further and say, what other elements can I bring into this? So that's
No,
my
you're making me think of just the way that you set up that hat is incredible. I mean, the detail, the specific side of like, hey, putting lunar branding that's visible but not intruding for someone to be able to wear it. And that's the big deal, right? I mean, obviously, we all know the brands that are athletic and stuff like that, that they'll put their logo, a little swoosh or the Under Armour stuff like that. But it's cool when you see a real business, a business owner that has something that's wearable and you could go around and then people are going to ask, oh, that's such a cool hat, that type of thing. So it's a different way to think, ladies and gentlemen. I know the tchotchke and world of branding and items have been somewhat of kind of slap your logo, be at an event, give it out at golf outings, and hope that people have some sort of resonating value. But obviously, lunar branding and your leadership, you're doing it differently. You're thinking about the intricacies and ways that it could impact and stay around on someone's head, someone's, chest, all that type of stuff. So really cool stuff. You know, when you started growing the business, I think Go4CEO community would love this to hear. Obviously, you started as a solopreneur. You had this idea with the zip thing and looking at that. What were some of the things that you started to do once you set roots in California? I know that's kind of where you launched Lunar Branding to the next level. What were some of the things that you started to do to attract talent to come work with you?
So to attract talent to come work with me is a great question. I would do speaking engagements continually. So like where we met at the College of DuPage, right? We were on that panel on the stage. I've spoken virtually at Virginia Tech, and I've spoken in person at USC Marshall School of Business on entrepreneurship. And from that, I'll have people reach out for internships. So that's one avenue, right? So if you're an expert in your field, go out, offer free or paid intern or free or paid speaking engagements, and you may get interns from that. You may get people who want to come work with you. I had people approach me saying, "Hey, of all the speakers we had this semester at my college, you were the most inspirational. I want to come intern at your company." I said, "All right." So there, it's like fish jumping in the boat from a talent perspective. Where else I drew talent from my friend group. I've had friends maybe wanted a change in career, was kind of stale at their current career. One friend he's a CPA, he still is, but he says, Greg, I see what you're doing. I'd love to come work with you. And so now he does my government contracting sector full time, right? And so, which is a whole beast in and of itself. And he spends a lot of time doing it. And I needed to fully outsource that. So now we work together and he's killing it with that. My virtual assistants in the Philippines, they're great. They've been with me for a couple of years. I found them through my West Point network. They had vetted already some virtual assistants, and they happen to already know the e-commerce and promotional product space, so they were a great fit right out the gate. Um, my CPAs, so it's very hard to find CPAs, kind of like finding a good doctor. You got to go through a bunch. So I went through 5 different CPAs over the time, and finally my family connected me to the ones that they use for their businesses, and they've been great. My accountants, they're overseas in Armenia, and so I'm supporting the homeland that way. And I have a friend who my cousin is a co-owner in this company, but they run a accounting firm, web development, and social media company. It's a cool mix of like tech essentially. And so I've hired them. They're my bookkeepers. They're great. I have a call with them every 2 weeks. Um, and then graphic design. I have a good graphic design team. I went out and found them. It took me a minute, went through a few different, good and bad people to find some great people for graphic design. Now we have a good rhythm going. So pretty decent sized team. Finding the talent has just been a mix of engaging in my local community, engaging with my family, engaging with other business owners, asking them who they're using, what they're doing in different aspects, and then you go from there. And so what ends up happening is you build a big enough company within your industry. If you stay in the groups, I'm sure every industry is like this. I know ours is. We have Facebook groups where we have people like posting job needs or they're open for work. And so they're already in the industry, they already understand it, they're already trained. We have other Facebook groups where, 25,000, we actually have maybe 15,000 of the 25,000 businesses that like us that exist. We're all in the same Facebook group. You're going to be like, wow, that's incredible that these competitors are in the same group helping each other out. There's so much business out there, we couldn't possibly handle it all anyways. And we're geographically different and our business is relationship based, so no one's worried about that. So that's how we help each other find, other help to join our business. Hey, who are you using? Oh, well, I just let go of this guy because, I'm selling my business. Do you need a graphic designer? And that's how you can acquire new things. So if you're in your industry, you stay within it, it's possible to find these different groups and pockets potentially of collaboration to help you guys grow.
Yeah, I love what you said there. And Go for Your Community, you should rewind that part because there's talent within your own competition, and it doesn't have to be necessarily that it's a fight for the talent. But sometimes it doesn't work out. They have to move. Greg's been in 8 cities. That move could mean like, oh, hey, Lunar Branding needed someone that just came from Massachusetts or from New York or from Florida. So really, really cool stuff because that's how you start to build, right? And I remember in the early days, a few years ago, I introduced you to another lady that's in your field, and she's always said great things about you and how you guys interacted and shared ideas. And if you did or didn't do business, didn't matter. It's now you connected to each other, and you have a resource that
Remind me
if you
her
need
name.
to.
Remind me her name one more time.
Amy Ariano,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a cool connection. I remember when I had her on the podcast, she shared, she's like, "Oh yeah, Greg was really cool," and they were talking about ideas and the levels that you were at were different, but it could have been very complimentary, right? If there was some opportunities there. So really cool stuff. I think talent is a big deal nowadays, and the way that you put your infrastructure together was really amazing too, right? Having a great CPA. I always say a great CPA, a great attorney, and a great commercial banker. Are one of the ingredients that you have at the table. You had a VA from the Philippines and were recommended, and now you have this bookkeeping out of Armenia, right? It's like it's all these things that tie into you being able to build the brand that you want, and then the mind of how you've been able to develop even from your hat to your shirt and all the things that you're doing. So, what are some of the things that you do nowadays to keep on growing the clientele? So is it more referral based at these points? Are you doing strategic marketing? And then what kind of process do you have a client journey go through?
Yeah, so I got a lot to unpack here for the audience. Some really good stuff. So I'll give some for the beginners who are just starting out and how I built my clientele, and then I'll go on how I grow my current clientele. So everyone, I'm sure, has a phone. First thing I did, I went through all my contacts. If I had your number, it was for a reason. I didn't care if I hadn't talked to you in years. I went literally from A's all the way down. If you didn't answer, the phone line went, whatever, went to voicemail. But if you picked up, hey, it's Greg. I just started a company. I sell merchandise. Do you need any? Or do you know anyone who does? If the answer was no, no problem. Hey man, how you been? I always led with the ask first and then catching up on the phone because that seemed more genuine
Yeah.
versus I led with, hey, how you been? Oh, by the way, I also want to try to sell you something. And they just seemed kind of like caught and trapped. They didn't like it as much. So go through your phone. Call everybody. Then go through all your social media. DM everybody. Don't just DM, get creative. Do a video message, right? That's more personable. They know it's not a bot or some kind of hacked account. Do a video. Hey, what's going on, John? It's been a minute. How you been? I just started a thing. Love to chat with you about it, whatever it may be. Then the third level, I went through every walking local business. Now, this obviously depends on the industry you're in and what you're selling, okay, to go after these clientele. I sell swag. Pretty much every organization is a potential customer because who doesn't have their logo put on something? So take that with a grain of salt. But I went through every local business that I was a customer of, and I said, "Hey, I've been a customer of you for months. I'd love for you to be a customer of mine." And I almost had a 100% success rate for reciprocity business. Okay. Reciprocal business, people don't even consider that sometimes. So that's great. That's how I started. How I continued referrals from quality product, quality service, and quality customer experience. Right. So now just fish jump in the boat. And so in my industry, we deal with high dollar amounts and we don't have like a one-click order, right? So it's a process. So I got to vet people. I got to vet. And so when people send me a referral, they're a vetted lead. So I don't have to worry about, man, is this client going to pay me, right? Up front, the way we have terms set up, sometimes other clients, they pay me net 30. Some clients pay 7 months late. You got to vet all this kind of stuff. So your first level of vetting becomes the referral source. And so then I hop on a call, they vet me as a vendor, I vet them as a client. It's not always going to work out, right? I may not validate them as a proper client. They may not fit what I'm looking for, right? They either don't have enough of a budget for the time and effort needed to be put into quality merchandise, or they want net 90 terms or something crazy like that. Hey, we're not a fit. There's plenty of other companies to go put your business with. So we vet them through referrals, and then I have my own kind of vetting process after a phone call. And then locally, how I've continued to grow is going to events. I've mentioned this multiple times already. Your local chambers of commerces. I'm sure there's paid networking groups that you can join. I forget the names of them, but I know there's a few of them out there. But those groups are great. Being involved in your local community that way definitely will give you a lot of exposure, a lot of leads, and there's just going to be doors that open up that you can't even predict, and I can't even predict for you. If I were to go back and connect the dots, me joining my local Burbank Chamber of Commerce, right? I didn't know I was going to pick up Marriott. I didn't know I was going to pick up Warner Brothers as an account through them, right? I didn't know I was going to pick up my local high school. But because I'm in the mix, I met a football coach. He says, "Hey, we have a big scoreboard. The ad, 28 foot by 3 foot ad underneath, the company went under. It's faded. Would you like that advertising space?" I said, "How much?" He told me. I said, "Cool. It's a multi-year contract that I signed with them. Amazing." Now I have a brand new ad, and then I open up the opportunity for me. "Hey, do you want to sponsor a concession stand?" Sure. So I'm gonna be in charge of establishing a concession stand, filling it with merch, profit sharing on the sales, right? Just who knew? Like I couldn't tell someone listening, "Hey, that opportunity is gonna come from that, from joining the Chamber of Commerce and being in the mix." It just you got to walk in faith that, hey, I just have to be in it. I'm a business owner. This is what CEOs do. They got to get out there, promote their brand, promote their business, get their name out there, and opportunities will just come to the surface. I can't tell you when, I can't tell you how long it'll take, but I promise you they'll eventually happen as long as you're looking for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, you made me think of three or four different things there, but I guess number one is just be present, right? Be present, be available, and as you get yourself out there, as Greg has talked about, even in the local chamber, sometimes we even forget that as people that think big and strategic and all that stuff. You think, oh, wait, hold on a second, my local chamber has individuals in there that will influence, like a football coach putting up a sign and then now creating this co-branding and profit sharing scenario with the high school. And there's business to be had in different ways. So really, really awesome stuff. So look, we've talked about how you start building your team. We've talked about the branding side. We've talked about the ideation, the spark that helped it all, the jumping in the water and doing that idea. It's been interesting to see you obviously on social media. What are some things that you're doing? Do you have a podcast by chance? Or is there anything else that you're doing that kind of showcases that from a social media standpoint?
I don't have a podcast. However, I am very active on social media. So me and my social media team, we put together a lot of video content. So you can go follow Lunar Branding on all platforms, and then and you can check out the content that we put out from a business perspective, just talking about merchandise, giving advice. That's kind of where most of the content is. And then personally, I do have a book coming out. I'm still in the midst of editing it, about 4 months in editing. So probably 3 more months before I got a draft and start publishing it. End of this year is kind of the goal for that.
Awesome, awesome. And you said there's a lot of the unintended documenting of your life and the journey with lunar branding. Is that the theme of it? Is just sharing how you've been
Yeah,
able to put this story of your life and story of lunar branding on paper?
exactly. So it goes through my background, of my personal background, a little bit of family background, just to give some context of who I am for the readers. And then it kind of goes into not taking no for an answer. Like each chapter has an overall theme and a business lesson at the end of it, and within the midst of it, telling a story and each anecdote and snippet of, this is when I had the idea, this is when I pitched the idea, this is how I grew the business. And so kind of, very similar to what we talked on the podcast here, but just a little bit more in depth and a lot more stories to be had. And with that, pictures to back it up, right? Because they always say a picture's worth 1,000 words. And so I encourage you guys, take pictures. You don't have to post them, just or take videos, document the process. You won't realize that that may have been a key node in your ideas or what you've developed. When I was living in downtown Chicago, this is a good lesson when it comes to branding. My first company name was AZ Access Distribution LLC. It was a mouthful. It was a terrible name. I admit it, terrible logo. I didn't know what I was doing, but I needed a company name and I had products from A to Z and I have access to them and I distribute them and I'm an LLC and I want to be top of the list. That's why I'm an A name. That's what my thought process was. And I got a client before I had a business and I just got to get a name out the gate. Let's go. Wrong. I mean, that it wasn't wrong to just start, but the name was terrible. And then I rebranded. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because I had taken a picture of a full moon. I love space, obviously, in the moon. That's obviously why I named my company after it. But in downtown Chicago, I took a picture of the moon between skyscrapers. And after my first promotional product trade show that I went to in January of 2018, I rebranded my company. And when I was going through my pictures, this picture of the moon was, a source of inspiration for me. So that I have that picture as like that is another impetus of a spark of inspiration to change the name to this theme and call it lunar branding. And I still have the sheet of paper that I wrote all the different names down, crossed them out. And this one didn't like, circled the lunar branding at the top. Stellar custom merchandise is the tagline. I have that piece of paper still. And so, yeah, I encourage all you guys as you're doing it, document the process, document your sketches, document everything because you don't know when down the road what monster of a company you may have created or an opportunity for yourself. And then you're going to end up on a podcast, you're going to end up writing a book, and you're going to be able to have all that as proof and as part of your story. So,
No, I love it. This day and age that we are in over the last 10, 15 years since the iPhone came out, what a great time to live where you can document, you can take pictures, you can take videos, put them up on either a YouTube channel or your own private, saving mechanism of that, and how, from our life, we're going to be able to translate that over to the next and the next and the next generation now with technology. There's even companies now. I met a gentleman that is doing safekeeping of, like videos to your grandkids, kids, and obviously writing a book is going to be a legacy piece for you as well. But will say this, one thing I've always been intrigued about you is just your family. So I'd like to get a little bit personal because this is your second time back in the Go for Show community, and I think a lot of our community would love to hear just that tie that you have to the community of the Armenian community, your family, the military background, and we'll kind of wrap it up with some of the last few questions that we have here. But tell us a little bit about that background because it's so important. And I see it in the way that you brand Lunar Branding and you brand yourself as someone a part of that community that is really invested.
yeah, so from an ethnicity standpoint, I come from Armenian heritage. So my dad's Armenian Christian from Iran, emigrated here when he was 18, and he ended up joining the U.S. military at 33 years old and served in the U.S. Army for 27 years with 5 combat deployments in his 50s.
Wow.
which is crazy, right? He also received the Bronze Star, and he was part of the 101st Airborne Division. So we'll come back to that. My mom, she's half Armenian, right? Her grandparents are from Armenia and are on her dad's side. And then on her mom's side, it's English, German, and Native American. So we go back on that side to the Revolutionary War. So when I say the warrior blood is in us, it is, right? So we have family that goes back there. And then her dad was Navy World War II. So on, both sides of her parents, we have lineage back to the military that way. And then growing up with that kind of history, my brother went to the Naval Academy, is now a Navy pilot, is still in the military. He was a helicopter pilot, just recently switched over to be an airplane pilot for the Navy. So he's doing badass things over there for them. And that inspired me to go to West Point and join. And, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to serve this country. And I even deployed to Afghanistan with the 101st Airborne Division, and I got a Bronze Star, just like my dad, which is crazy because it's 10 years apart, father and son. We have a picture side by side and in the same exact pose without knowing it. We didn't do it on purpose. I now have both pictures. And, I say the story. My dad was a first lieutenant in southern Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom with the 101st Airborne Division, and he got a Bronze Star. 10 years later, I'm a first lieutenant. I'm in southern Afghanistan. I'm in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. I'm with the 101st Airborne Division, and I also get a Bronze Star. So literally falling into my dad's footsteps. Really powerful, very unique. Another fun little story is my brother was stationed in Japan. My dad was deployed to Qatar. I was deployed to Afghanistan. My poor mom's home alone, right? Holding down the home fort. And my dad retired out of Qatar, and they allowed me to go fly from Afghanistan to Qatar to see my dad and see him retire, which was incredible to have a father and son who are not only in the same war, same campaign, same unit, and everything, but now deployed at the same time, and to go hang out. I say hang out like in war, right? Go see him and spend some time with my dad in that element is just an extremely rare and unique memory to have as father and son. So that's definitely something I love sharing. And then with the Armenian community, I grew up in the Armenian community on the East Coast with AYF and Homen Amen. These are youth groups that we're part of, going to camp and church camps and all these fun things. And part of the reason I moved to LA was the largest population of Armenians. And so with that, I try to support Armenians through having them be my CPAs and accountants and being part of my team for government contracting, and I support it that way, giving back in donations to different organizations, providing opportunities for internships if possible. But, after all is said and done, there's like really three communities that I like to serve. Because if you can't tell, I'm about service and I'm about something bigger than myself, right? And so there's three communities that I really like to serve. One is the Armenian community because of our heritage and because we have, our country has been under a lot of tension and stress, and it just seems to be ignored by the globe as a whole, which is unfortunate. So we're very proud people, and we like to keep our heritage and our ethnicity strong. So I like to support the Armenian community. I love to support the veteran community because of my military background, not personally, not just personally, but also my family military history. And then I love to support my local community. So, the high schools, the chambers of commerce, whatever. So I love supporting the Armenian community. I love supporting the veteran community, and I love supporting my local community. And being able to do that as a business owner is, I think, very important because starting a business isn't just about making money, it's about giving back. It's about being part of other, groups of people. And that's why it's important to share these stories so others understand that, it's not just about yourself starting a company, it's about whomever else you can support within your sphere of influence.
No, that's been an impressive part of seeing you, right, and meeting you back in the day, and getting a chance to stay connected over the years. So I'm always very jealous. I'm an only child. My mom passed away in 16 or 14, and but it's so cool to see that your connection is so deep, and you have that spirit of the Armenian side and what your mom and dad have built in you, and then one of one to be able to have your dad and you in the
Yeah.
same same group and experienced that. What an incredible story. So hopefully it's in the book as well of what you're going to share there, and that's inspired. So Go for CEO community, learn about that, right? Learn or start to recollect the things that you could do. Start to look at pictures and videos. Start to be able to see things, right? Because we all have a book in us, but Lunar Branding is much more than just the promotional products. Lunar Branding is Greg and the family and the heritage and everything that he's been able to build. So super excited to have you back on. We typically end our Go for CEO interviews with C is client experience, E is engagement, and O is operational excellence. I'd love to hear kind of what's changed in that scenario or what's developed and grown, because I'm going to go back to my first interview and see what you said now to the second interview. So why don't we start with that, the value proposition from Lunar Branding and what you do for client experience.
So for client experience, right now we have a really good onboarding process. So before it was just emails back and forth. Now we have a client onboarding form. Once we have on a phone call, I'll go from the beginning. I get an introduction, either I meet somebody or I get a referral. We have a phone call. We validate each other as a client and as a vendor, back and forth. Once that's approved, I probably have to fill out some kind of onboarding form for them to be a vendor. They also have to fill out an onboarding form for me to be a client, right? So that's the first piece. Phone call, onboarding form, and then I send them a nice box of Lunar Branding goodies, right? Before they even order their first thing, they get a box of awesome, stellar swag, and they just get to experience what's possible with swag and the excitement behind the quality that's about to come for the product recommendations that we're going to use for their company and all the use cases they have behind swag. So that's how we've now kind of transitioned to have a better client experience.
I love it. And look, that's in growth, right? I mean, obviously, the initial part of you starting this business was an inspiration and getting out there and hustling. But over the years, you've now developed great SOPs. You understand the process and what it takes to be successful on that beginning part of client experience. So, really cool. Engagement. Obviously, you're super engaged with chamber, with your community, with local high school, all that type of stuff. What are some things that you're doing as far as engagement with your team, with vendors? How are you engaging and making a little bit of a difference beyond what you've already shared?
Yeah, so beyond what I've already shared, the other ways I'm staying engaged is heavy in my industry. On Facebook, you can see if you're a top contributor in these groups, I'm a top contributor. So if people haven't even met me, when they do meet me at a trade show or an expo that are industry specific, they go, "Oh, I know Lunar Branding, or I know your name, Greg. I've seen you in the Facebook groups. I see you adding value." So they see it from a online perspective, but then they get to meet me in person and we get to engage and have conversations. I stay very plugged into the industry between mergers and acquisitions so I can, understand the landscape of where the direction our industry is moving, especially the integration of AI. Next week we have a trade show in Anaheim. It's a smaller trade show. It's not the larger one that we have in Vegas in January. This one's specific to Southern California, and a lot of the distributors like my companies have. What's unique about it is our clients can attend this and they get to walk the trade show and see a couple hundred suppliers and thousands and tens of thousands of products in person, which is a unique way for them to do that. So I invite my clients to that, no charge to them, staying engaged with my customers, staying engaged with my suppliers. But even further, I'm actually doing two speaking engagements next week at this expo. One, I'm on a millionaire plus sales panel. So, it's me and Amy, and we're on a panel. And so we are now talking about how we built our business. We have a list of questions that we're going to be going through and talking about, hey, as a solo distributor, here's what I did to enhance the brand and the company and inspiring other distributors. And then the other panel I'm on is talking about ChatGPT, AI, and Meta glasses and how I'm using those as a solo distributor, walking trade shows, consolidating notes at the end of it, and being able to pretty much get a fire hose of information and figure out, how to consolidate that, debrief it, and take action on that information in a effective time frame outside of just writing it in a notebook. So I'm actually doing 2 engagements next week. So that's how I stay engaged.
I love it. I love it. And last one is operational excellence. Obviously, things have changed throughout the last 7 or 8 years that you've built this business. What are some of the tools that you're using nowadays that have, the AI side, 30, 60 seconds on just, are you using HubSpot? What are some CRM tools? What are things that you're helping build your business with?
Sure. So I'm actually in the process of potentially switching to HubSpot, but right now I'm using our industry software. And it's okay, but building a landscape of digital products from an operational standpoint, every year I do a systems audit and figure out which software platforms I'm no longer using or don't or no longer need or are redundant now because a lot more software are integrating AI. So let's say I have Calendly for my software for calendar booking and meetings, and I was using Fireflies to document the AI. So now Calendly has that built in, and I'm at a crossroads. Do I keep Fireflies or do I get rid of it and just have it built into Calendly? Most likely the second option, but then I got to go rekey all the API integrations I had Fireflies, go into Notion and put all my notes there. So now does Calendly have that same integration? So it's a process to kind of see the landscape of the systems and how they all talk to each other because it's constantly updating, it's constantly changing. There's new integrations. So I stay up to date with that. But having a good set of online systems will help you scale. If you don't have a solid foundation, you can only grow so tall. And even the taller you go, the larger and the more and the larger and the stronger the foundation needs to be for the higher for you to build.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much for making the time to come back on the Go for CEO channel. Super excited. And Go for CEO community, subscribe to the channel if you have not. And then, Greg, share with them how to get to you and connect with you and do business with you.
Sure thing. So, first off, thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it. It's nice to be back. Yeah, follow, like, subscribe, go for CEO. And to reach out to me, personal Instagram is at GD Gregorian, and the business one is at Lunar Branding. I'm very active on social media, mainly Instagram and mainly LinkedIn. So you can search for my name, Greg Gregorian, on LinkedIn as well, or Lunar Branding. You can connect with us there. It's a great way for you guys to stay in touch, see what we're doing, looking at the videos. I'm constantly cross-sharing across both platforms and talking about all the types of merchandise that's out there and the different ways that you guys can use them. So if you're in need of merch, I'd love to support you and help you out. But if you just need advice on how to leverage merch and you already have a good partner, you can take these ideas and bring it to them as well. So looking forward to chatting with you guys, and hopefully you guys got some good insight from this podcast.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. And we'll continue to do this every 18 to 24 months. I want us to keep on growing the Lunar branding, following, and at least from a Go for CO standpoint, and helping people see what you've done. And thank you so much for sharing about your family, your background, the military service. Thank you for serving and such an impact that you're making with everything that you're doing, brother. So I'm glad that we connected, in a funny way and kind of a stage presence type of thing. And then we've kept that relationship. And even if it's just every so often, it's always a great thing to do. Go for your community. Stay connected. Drop a text, drop a video, drop a DM, and these relationships will flourish throughout years to come. So, thanks, Greg, for coming on.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you. Take care.